Hi, my name is Dr. Stephen Newhart, and this is the Dr. Fit podcast channel. On this channel, we believe that exercise is medicine. I spent 17 years of my life as a personal trainer prescribing exercise to people, and I found that it was a massive improvement strategy for disease. And on this channel, we're going to bring in a lot of experts. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about science-based education and how it can be used to better your life or to even eliminate disease. Hi, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Dr. Fit. I'm Dr. Stephen Newhart, and today we have a great guest, and we're going to talk about a topic that we've not touched on yet, which is going to be great. My guest has been bodybuilding for 4 years, and I'm really curious about this side of the whole fitness industry. I was an athlete, so I trained just for athletics, but I know there's an entire different side to bodybuilding. He has actually won 3 bodybuilding competitions in that 4 years of competing or performing bodybuilding, which is great because that's a pretty high success. It's a pretty high success rate, I would say. So if you wouldn't mind welcoming Josh Caprio with me. Josh is a good friend. Josh, thanks for being here today and educating us a little bit about bodybuilding. But we've known each other for a while. Mm-hmm. You've got a great physique. You've been exercising. You always work out hard here in the gym. And I'd love to just spitball ideas and go back and forth and really get educated by you on the world of bodybuilding. So where do you want to start? You tell me what to tell, or maybe outline some key pieces. What are key pieces that people at home would enjoy hearing and it would help me educate?
As far as bodybuilding, I think bodybuilding is just like a way of life. I think it's just, I think if you're gonna start bodybuilding, as far as like wanting to compete, I guess, it just take, a whole lot of mental strength. Being willing to diet, being willing to, push yourself past the thresholds, knowing the science behind it of muscle growth. So I think like bodybuilding, as far as like competition, is a whole new level besides just bodybuilding in general. Of I'm going to the gym and I'm working out.
Exactly.
I think they're two. There's two different things. I think bodybuilding and working out is probably two different things.
Because you can't really. Is there cheating with diet, or is it just, hey, I'm strict and this is how it has to be?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit, when it comes to dieting, I don't really, with a lot of the diets that are out there, I don't really agree with mostly. For me, I do, for me it's calories in, calories out. Meaning, if you're trying to diet and you're trying to, become a lower body fat, however many calories you need per day for a week, where you're losing probably like 1% of your weight. So if you weigh like 150, probably the most you want to lose is like 1.5 pounds a week. Mm-hmm. You don't really want to go with that crazy, like keto stuff where you're losing 10 pounds a week, because a lot of people, all they're losing is, a lot of it's water weight for a lot of reasons why. But
and that doesn't help muscle performance at all.
No, you lose
dehydrated.
Right. So, whenever you go on a diet and you're losing, more than 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds, you're losing a lot of muscle mass with that. Yeah. And what you want to do is you want to lose the weight slowly, keep as much muscle as you can. And that's for dieting in general, or even bodybuilding. That's what bodybuilders do. They bring themselves into a calorie deficit over a period of time, and then they get down to a lower percent body fat so they can get on stage. And just for bodybuilders, it can be for people in general. Say they want to lose weight. Everyone should lose weight, in my opinion, that way. Calorie deficit, and take it slowly.
But so do you believe that I could eat? Okay, so my number is 1,300 calories. That means I'm going to lose weight, right? So my resting metabolic rate and my energy expenditure are about 1,700 in a day. So 1,300, I'm going to be at a 400 calorie deficit. So I'm going to start losing weight. Could it be all fat, or do you still want to balance those nutrients out? Is there a purpose to balance the nutrients?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, of course Of course, there's a difference between 1,300 calories of cake versus like 1,300 calories of carbs, vegetables and meat. Yeah, your body needs certain things to build muscle and to function in general. You need vitamins and minerals from vegetables. You do need carbs, and you do need protein. So out of that 1,300 calories, you do need these things. I guess what I'm saying is that, in my opinion, is that you don't really necessarily need to count macros as much. It's more calories. So yeah, I mean, if you have like a decent healthy diet, meaning proteins, some carbs and vegetables, and you meet your 1,300 calories, but that's what you need to lose, like a pound a week. And then I think that's sufficient because you have the proteins you need to build the muscle, you have the carbs in there that you need to fuel yourself for workouts and to think in general, and then you have your you can eat as much vegetables and fruits as you want. In my opinion, there's not a whole lot of calories in those anyways.
Yeah. So this is one of the best times with a bodybuilder, one of the leanest people, because bodybuilders are the leanest, where we've got this entire theory behind not eating carbohydrates and losing weight. Yet every time, and I've talked to a lot of shape competitors, and now I've got a bodybuilder sitting right here in front of me. Every time I talk to somebody, they say, I eat a ton of carbs, man. It's just healthy carbohydrate. It's a plain, I see you eating, jasmine rice all the time. It's a plain carbohydrate.
Right.
Plain carbohydrates, in my opinion, don't typically make people gain a ton of weight. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that someone could show me a clean diet, say we'll just pick the typical bodybuilding diet, which you'll hear is like chicken, rice, and broccoli, and I eat it 7 times a day. Well, I mean, if you only need 1,400 calories, but your chicken, rice, and broccoli puts you over 3,000, you're going to get fat.
Yeah.
Even though you're eating clean, you're going to get fat. Sure. So, and then I disagree with the whole like getting rid of carbs and things like that. I mean, there's so much science on that it'd take forever to be on that one, but we could talk about that forever. But yeah, your body definitely needs carbs. I mean, because if not, I mean, that's what fuels you. Yeah. So if you just get in a calorie deficit, I mean, you can eat carbs throughout the day, like white rice, potatoes, bread, white bread, things like that. If you stay under your calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. Yeah. I mean, I challenge anybody. I mean, I've trained people, even myself, and I've done the same routines where, I put myself in a calorie deficit. I put them in a calorie deficit. There's people that were like on, doing 800 calories a day. And yeah, they dropped like, 30 pounds in like 2 months, and that's great, but they were so weak and they were tired. Yeah. And then I doubled their calories because I said, no, actually your body probably needs this much. And then we're also going to have you eating rice and potatoes or whatever you want as well to fuel you throughout your workout. And they felt 100 times better, and they dropped weight, and they were more lean afterwards. So, yeah, getting rid of carbs in general, things like that, it's ridiculous. It's all about calories, healthy calories.
Yeah. Natural calories.
Yeah, natural calories at the end of the day. You need your proteins, you need your carbs, you need your vegetables.
Well, here's an interesting thing that I've kind of come across. The reason why we said cut carbs is because people looked at a potato with sour cream, butter, cheese, chives, bacon. It's like, well, that's a potato. That's not a potato. That's a 2,000 calorie potato.
It's a good tasting potato.
I just won the bodybuilding championship potato. You know what I mean? But that's why. And then there are some breads that they'll stick a lot of simple sugar inside bread. So you're not only just eating bread, you're eating a ton of high calorie sugar,
right?
And that goes along with it. So right. I'm always going to keep bringing that topic up. I get leaner when I consume carbohydrates. Yeah. When I do ketogenic, I feel tired. I lose muscle. I get smaller. Yeah. I can tell. And obviously, for just healthy humans in general, we don't want to lose muscle mass. Nobody should lose muscle mass. Actually, it's unhealthy to lose muscle mass. It's what's keeping your metabolism going and pumping your heart daily and things like that. Let's shift real quick. You said something about muscle building when we were talking, we were introing. What's the best way to build muscle?
Yeah.
You're like, what a general broad question.
Yeah, I mean, what's the best way to build muscle? I mean, if you're talking about muscle hypertrophy, I mean, obviously, the research is out there, progressive overload in whatever manner. I mean, there's 3 key elements for the most part that builds muscle, which is mechanical tension, mechanical tension is the weight, the stress on the muscle whenever you're pushing, so the heavier weight. I'm not saying lift heavy, I'm saying the heavier weight, the stress. You got the metabolic stress, which would be like the pump that you hear bodybuilders saying, the pump, and then the stretch under tension builds muscle. So basically lifting in general builds muscle.
Not super heavy. Is there for bodybuilding, do you want to stay a little higher rep?
Yeah, you know, and that's another,
still heavy.
Yeah, I mean, you can. That's another good debate too. So, yeah, the research shows that it doesn't really matter what rep range you're in, whether it be 6 to, I mean, all the way up to 30. There is a limit because, I mean, 30 is kind of the threshold, it seemed like, to where you're not really getting enough tension to create mass. But,
Sure.
I mean, between like 6 and 30, you know, you're going to stimulate enough muscle growth. The only caveat to that is kind of, it looks like after you get to about rep 15, you kind of want to take it, you know, to failure, or, you know, pretty close to failure, maybe 1 or 2 to to failure, because that's whenever you work the full muscle groups or the big motors, the fast twitch, in other words. And then if you're under that, like if you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you can, you know, you don't have to push it all the way to failure. You could be like 2, 3 off and still be fine. But it seems like if you do 15 or up, you need to go to failure. You know, and there's also studies on that where people were lifting in the 25 rep range, and then people were lifting in the 8 rep range over like an 8-week period, and they both built the same mass. Now the guys who were lifting heavier were stronger, obviously. If you want to get stronger, that's a whole different ball game.
That's neural fat.
Yeah, it's all neural. So that's a whole different ball game. But if you're trying to build mass, you know, the rep ranges can vary between the exercises, and that could be a long subject too. But yeah, to build muscle at the end of the day is, you know, to push weight between 6 to 30, you know, depending on the exercise, because you're not going to get under a dang squat machine and squat 25. You're going to die. You know, it's probably one of those exercises where you're going to go heavier, like 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. You know, go heavier on those. And then like leg extensions, where you're not going to do just 6 leg extensions. Yeah. Those ones you can push, you know, 10 to 30, whatever you want to do, whatever your workout is. And then, but the key thing is progressive overload. I mean, you got to get harder than last time. You know, I know a YouTuber, man, a really good guy named Greg Doucette. Man, he kind of hits it on the mark. But you know, you got to get it heavier than last time, or not heavier than last, but you got to go harder than last time.
Something more
to a certain point, and then recover. You know, deload and then start again. You know.
How often are you in, 20 rep range, and how often are you in 8 rep range? Is more or less on one end of the thing, or is it just like every day I'm doing an 8, I'm doing a 10, I'm doing a 12, and I'm working my way up to 30 on every exercise I do?
Yeah, I don't. So for me in general, I mean, there's not a right way or a wrong way. So I don't want someone to listen and be like, oh, I'm going to do it this way, right? I mean, it just depends on how you set up your program for like, say you do a mesocycle or whatever, and say you have like a 12-week long program. You know, it's all your progressive loading for this time. So you kind of want to stay within, say it's chest day, you're doing, you know, benches, you know, you kind of want to stay in that rep range so you know where you're at as far as whatever progressive overload you're doing. You know, honestly, like for the heavy compound lifts would be we're using multiple, you know, muscles for those who don't know. So it'd be like a bench press or squats, things like that. That would be a compound lift. On those, I always stay under 12, like between 8 and 12. I always do it. And then as far as like, you know, single joint motions, which would be like, you know, bicep curls or triceps extensions or something. Those ones vary, man. It just depends on the program. I might do, you know, heavier at first, between like 12 and 15 at the first part of it, and then I might add more reps at the end. However I want to do it for progressive overload. So there's not a really clear-cut answer for you.
Yeah,
I do vary.
It's just more and add volume.
Yeah, I add volume. That's one thing I do is I work more towards volume than weight. Like typically you won't see me add more weight. If I can get stronger, then I will. But typically I'm going to add sets, more sets. Or sometimes I'll go, you know, further away from failure and then get closer to failure, you know, till the last week where I'm just dying and I'm pushing everything I have. And then, you know, I kind of take like a week off or whatever to recover.
I was about to ask you that, recovery weeks and, you know, adding before before a competition. It's got to be, hey,
Yeah, especially when you're dieting, man. You're getting tired. You're especially the last week, man. Last week you don't press it that hard. The very last week before you go and compete, you know, you're kind of on a keto diet the last week. You kind of don't eat any carbs until the day before, and then you start carb loading, and we could sit all day and talk about that as well. But yeah, I mean, so you feel like crap that day. That time is only just to kind of pump your muscles. Because now, I mean, you're not going to gain anything in a week. So now it's just for show. I mean, now when you're in there in the gym, you're not trying to push yourself the last week. You're just kind of pushing the muscles that you want to absorb the carbs and to look more fuller. That's all it is the last week.
Which is funny because now we're going back to our nutrition talk about carbohydrates. The carbohydrate is actually coming inside the muscle instead of adding body fat to the person.
Yeah.
And it's just being stored inside the muscle.
Right.
There's no body fat to that.
No, not at all, man. I mean, yeah. So, yeah, especially rice and things like that. I don't see why people think it's so wrong,
I feel better and I think better. And there was just talk about how ketone bodies are better for thought than a carbohydrate, but there's still a ton of literature that shows, I mean, straight glucose taken in is best for thinking as well.
100%.
I don't know.
You take an athlete that has no carbs through a certain amount of time, and then you take a athlete that with carbs. I mean, the guy with the carbs are definitely. I mean, try to run a marathon on no carbs.
Well, athlete, that's we have to. It's one of those things.
Exactly.
Have to have carbohydrates. Yeah. There's a. I teach at a university, strength and conditioning, and our new version of the textbook has an entire chapter on performance nutrition, and it's just, it's that. Hey, we need glucose, we need carbohydrates, we need this. It's what the chapter is really based around. Kind of trying to hammer it back into people's heads. There was one time you were talking about high repetition, and if you're gonna do squats for 25, you're gonna die. Yeah. I was preparing for a distance run, the Cowtown. And it's probably about 6 days. I did upwards of 25, 30 reps of squat with it was about 70%, 70% of max.
Dang.
And I was resting for 30 seconds in between. It was ridiculous. By the last one, and I felt like a whole different set of muscles got sore. It was crazy. Muscles I feel like I had, which is probably my type 1 fibers. They were probably being directly influenced by it.
Yeah.
But it was a whole different type of sore and very exhausting.
Right.
But at the same time, I was out there running 6, 7, 8 miles. And so you come in and you do that, it's not as bad because your heart is kind of used to the endurance.
Right, and it's a different kind of training, man.
Totally.
I mean, training like that for bodybuilding would be ridiculous because the reason being the difference would be if I came in here and I did that, then I just blew my whole central nervous system. And then recovery time is going to be a nightmare for bodybuilding. Those are just two, like athletes, power lifters, bodybuilders. Everybody gets to do things different, to whatever you're trying to do, you have to create your workout for that specific thing. Like an MMA fighter, they're not going to work out like, a IFBB pro bodybuilder. They're two different ball games, man. Like you're just not going to see you'll see them lifting weights, but at a whole different concept. So you just got to.
So we got diet, we've got programming and lifting. What other essential pieces are there to maybe one more essential piece to an overall what you'd tell a bodybuilder is essential to their lifestyle? I have a good question actually. We're talking. This kind of goes back to nutrition. A lot of people can't stop eating things that are bad for them due to addiction. So what you said just being mentally strong, is that what it is? Hey man, you just gotta be mentally strong.
To a certain point, right? I mean, mentally strong is more as not being lazy. Now, not mentally strong, because these are two different things. So being mentally strong is not being lazy, getting up and going to the gym rather than playing Xbox One.
Yeah.
You're not gonna do good in a bodybuilding show or anything at all if you would rather be sitting at home than at the gym. You gotta like what you do. You can't be lazy. You gotta be able to lift. You gotta lift past the threshold. I mean, you have to, you're gonna have to feel some pain. So that's what I mean by that. And also, as far as dieting is just, a lot of people don't like to cook nowadays and things like that. So you can't be lazy I mean, make your meals, prep your meals, and things like that. That's going to help you out. Now, the addicting. When I see people like binge eating, a lot of times is at nighttime. A lot of people binge like later on at night, and the reason I feel is because when you're dieting, a lot of people starve themselves and they're not eating things that they like. I think you need to do the high, the high density, low carb or low calorie foods. Things that fill you up. I mean, there's a lot of examples, but one could be, chicken salad, with whatever. I mean, you could buy like, 2 of those big spinach things, put it in a big bowl. There's literally no calories there. It's just, spinach leaves. Throw 6 ounces of chicken on it, put some low calorie dressing on it. I mean, you might have like 300 calories max, because I mean, if you have 6 ounces of chicken, that's like around 282 calories. Then maybe you add like 20, depending on what the season is, but that's 300 calories, and that's going to keep you. I mean, a big salad like that's going to keep you full for hours.
Yeah.
So you want stuff that's low calorie, that's dense. So you do that. I mean, if you have 13, so say you have 1,300 is kind of small, like 1,400 calories. Maybe that's probably good for like a female that's working out quite a bit. So 1,400 calories, and that's for if she's just lifting weight. So 1,400 calories. I mean, she ate a big old salad, and that's only probably 310 or 20 calories right there. That's it. I mean, look at how much more she has to eat, to not lose too much weight. I mean, you do that throughout the day, and then, I mean, you can have, say you like chicken and rice, I don't know, or you could have, chicken, tacos or whatever. I mean, just get the low calorie. Usually they call it carb, and it's not that you're just eliminating the carb. It's just that they're lower calories, so they're called low carb, like tortillas. I mean, they're only like 70 calories.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a couple of those and put some more chicken in it, put some, lettuce in it, this and that. So, I mean, once again, you probably have like 500 calories max. Now you have 800 calories. That's another meal and you're freaking stuffed. So
Yeah.
I think that the whole goal is to keep yourself not like painfully stuffed, but to keep yourself satisfied, so you can go through, this time without, binge eating, and then also finding supplements to what you like to eat. So say you're one of those dudes, you're just addicted to chocolate pudding. Well, I mean, there's alternatives to chocolate pudding, man. I mean, you got the protein, there's plenty of YouTube. I mean, you can YouTube anything, YouTube Dr. Fit, so YouTube one of these, great YouTubers that put this stuff up there for free and learn how to make some protein pudding or protein ice cream. I mean, there's stuff out there. There's alternatives. So like this, I like apple pie. Well, guess what? They have anabolic apple pie. This is how you make it, and this is how it's low calorie. So instead of eating the 2 slices of apple pie that's like 1,000,000 calories, now you just made this way, and it tastes pretty darn good, and it's only like 100 calories. So you just have to. I mean, so it's all about being lazy, not trying.
Yeah. Well, I like the mindset piece as well. And that's, people have to, you know what it is though? I think a lot of it, if you set yourself a really good goal, you've obviously got a goal. You plan to compete again, I imagine. And that goal is always in the back of your mind. If people want to change their body, they have to set a goal for this body. What's it going to be? I mean, maybe it's just a half, not even a half marathon. Maybe it's a 5K. I don't know. Set some goal so that you're focused on it. That drives you back to the fitness facility or the trail or wherever you're doing your training, and it motivates you, keeps you going. So mindset, nutrition, and programming. I appreciate all the advice today, Josh.
No worries, man.
I still don't know if I'll join you on your next show, but I'm obviously going to keep. I'm going to keep lifting.
So here's a question for you, man. Since we're like doing some YouTube and stuff, and so who do you think is going to win, man? Jake Paul or Tyson Woodley?
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't know?
No. What is this?
Jake Paul is like a big YouTuber, and Tyson Woodley he's an MMA fighter that just got released from.
I know what you're talking about.
But Jake Paul, he kind of became like a pro, a pro boxer now, and so he keeps taking on UFC fighters. But I know this one might be different. It might not.
What was the last one? Do you remember? Not a long time ago when YouTube was first around. You remember who the man was?
For YouTube?
Yeah.
The man of YouTube.
Amateur boxer.
Oh, amateur boxing? I don't
Street
know.
fighting.
Who was the street
Anybody?
fighter? I don't know.
Kimbo Slice.
Oh, yeah, Kimbo.
What happened with Kimbo Slice, man? Eventually, it came down to you're really tough, but somebody out there has got better form and technique, and he made his way in there. But that
Jake
didn't
Paul's making a lot of money from it, though. Man,
oh yeah,
so-
yeah, you're gonna make the money. They're
Yeah.
gonna make the money. That they might make enough money to you'll be set for.
I mean, I'd box him for that kind of money. Dang.
We can get you out there, man.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Man.
So thanks for your time, man, and thanks everybody for tuning in to the Dr. Fit channel. We'll be back next time with more great advice, and we learned a lot about bodybuilding today. So everybody take care.